The prison guards tried to kill me, thinking I was a junkie, not knowing I was undercover FBI. I showed up at Central State Correctional with fake needle marks and hair that reeked of cigarette smoke. My officer walked me through while I twitched behind him, playing the part of a strung-out junkie perfectly. The intake officer barely looked at me. Another tweaker, he muttered, shoving the orange jumpsuit across the counter. Cell block D, the infamous block where 14 young inmates had died in 6 months, all ruled as sewer slides or overdoses. There was just one rule I had to follow. Don't let them get to the FBI wire sewn into my shoes. Officer Sanchez grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in. Junkies always cause problems, he announced to the other guards. This one's already shaking. Perfect. The tremors would cover for any nervousness while I documented how inmates kept dying on their watch. The processing room reeked of bleach and desperation. Officer Sanchez shoved me against the wall for the strip search, laughing when I stumbled. Can't even stand straight, he said. How long before this one's in withdrawal? Officer Kent joined him, both treating me like I was contagious. Put him in the junkie cell, Kent said. Let Lamar deal with another mouth to feed. They assigned me to D Block's worst cell, a concrete box with mysterious stains on the walls. My cellmate Carlos whispered that the last 3 people in this bunk hadn't lasted a month. They OD'd, he said, making air quotes, but they weren't even users. At dinner, the guards made their priorities clear. While general population got real trays, D Block inmates got whatever was left. Officer Sanchez walked the line, kicking trays when inmates reached for them. Junkies don't deserve hot food, he announced. When I tried to grab a piece of bread, he stomped on my hand. Did I say you could effing eat? The wire in my shoe recorded every word. The next morning revealed the real operation. During count, Sanchez and Kent pulled 2 inmates from their cells. Medical evaluation, they announced. But through the bars, I watched them lead the men to a storage room, not the infirmary. Screams echoed for 20 minutes before silence. At lunch, those bunks were empty. Heart attacks, Sanchez told everyone. Substances are dangerous. It was clear that they were targeting the vulnerable. Addicts with no family, mentally ill inmates, anyone who wouldn't be missed. Sanchez made a game of denying medication. You want your methadone? He'd ask, holding the cup just out of reach. Beg for it. When inmates collapsed from withdrawal, he'd step over them. Natural selection, he'd say. Officer Kent was worse. He'd visit cells after lights out, flashlight in one hand, baton in the other. Bed check, he'd announce. But we all knew better. He'd pick an inmate, always the weakest ones, and drag them out. They'd return hours later, bruised and silent. Some never returned at all. On day 4, they escalated with me. Sanchez noticed I wasn't showing severe withdrawal symptoms. You're faking, he accused during the morning count. He yanked me from my cell and threw me against the wall. Think you're smart? Think you're better than the other junkies? He pressed his baton against my throat. I've seen 100 like you. You'll be begging for a fix by tomorrow. They put me on Sewer Slide Watch, their favorite cover story. Stripped to boxers in a freezing cell with a camera that conveniently malfunctioned whenever guards visited. Kent brought in Officer Davis, a mountain of a man who enjoyed his work too much. This one thinks he's tough, Sanchez told him. Show him what happens to tough guys in D Block. Davis grabbed my hair and slammed my face into the concrete wall. Where's your stash? He demanded. When I mumbled I didn't have one, he laughed. They all say that. He kicked my ribs, each blow calculated to hurt, but not leave obvious marks. By tomorrow, you'll be begging to tell us everything. That night, they demonstrated their system. An inmate named Tommy, barely 18 and actually detoxing, started seizing in his cell. Instead of calling medical, Sanchez and Kent watched through the bars. Taking bets on how long he lasts, Sanchez said. They let him convulse for 15 minutes before Kent finally went in, not to help, but to plant a baggie in his pocket. Another overdose, he announced. Shame he couldn't kick the habit. They were getting bolder, cockier. Sanchez started bragging during shift changes. Cleaning up the streets, 1 junkie at a time, he'd say. Governor should give us a medal. Kent kept a tally on his locker, hash marks for each overdose on his watch. 23 marks when I counted. On day 6, they decided I was next. Sanchez pulled me into the storage room where those screams had come from. Syringes lined the wall. Know what's funny about junkies? He asked. Filling a needle with something clear, they'll shoot up anything, even if they don't want to. Kent held me down while Sanchez approached with the needle. Another tragic overdose, he practiced. If only he'd accepted help. That's when the doors burst open and FBI agents flooded in. Someone had told them about a corrupt prison officer. Full story on channel, link below.